Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Dakota here with a little bit of thoughts for you. I'm trying to get some work done today, but this is sort of the shit that I have to deal with. I am currently trying to. I'm working on a hand painted texture for a 3D model. You know, sharing my art with you is something that I'm very passionate about. That's why even my streams where I raid the DOJ to protest the concealment of the identity of perpetrators in the Epstein trafficking ring still includes all my art in it because it's something I care about. And while I will, stick my neck out for causes I support, I also have my own, side things that I want to do as well. But of course, because of all the discourse and the way that it's sort of happened recently, the way things have been spiraling out of control for a while, I feel almost obligated to come out and say some shit on this because I just need to get it off my chest. I need to get it out of my head so I can focus on other things. And because I can't necessarily directly confront some of the people in my life who spew this rhetoric at me without fact checking anything, and will just get mad and angry when I demonstrate some level of skepticism for what they're saying to me because they read a headline but not an article. So I mean, I've been like dealing with political stuff for a long time now. I got really heavily into it back in 2016. I think everybody kind of did. And from like my age and up back then. And I've gotten overwhelmed with it with time. I'm just tired of hearing about it constantly. Like people just continuously spewing false rhetoric or misinformation that they regurgitated from some shitty propagandist fucking publication. So I wanted to give you some of my thoughts on what's going on right now. The whole Charlie Kirk situation is an important one that we need to discuss a little bit more, and we should be using it as an opportunity to come together, not to divide ourselves, to separate truth from lies, because that's what Charlie Kirk did stand for. And I want to give you my thoughts on him as a person, even though I didn't know super well who he was. He wasn't really on my radar until this assassination happened. And I want to give you my thoughts on the assassination itself, just so I can get it out of my head. Before I get into anything too controversial, I want to talk about Charlie Kirk himself. I don't really fully agree with most of the things he said. But I understand why he believes certain things. A great example of this, I was having an argument with somebody earlier about how, he said this, he said that, and he's evil. And I'm like, yeah, but why did he say those things? Like, that seems like a strange thing to say. What was the reason for it? There's got to be a reason. What's the context? I'm like, well, I read the full quote. I'm like, well, again, when I ask for context with a quote, I'm not asking for the context of the very moment he said it. I'm talking about why he said it. Context goes beyond the moment, oftentimes, of something happening. There's a reason why it's gotten to that point. I mean, you can just say, well, Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated, and that was the start of the World War I. It's like, okay, yeah, but why did that happen? What led up to that? You can't just kill one person and be like, oh, World War. There's got to be an examination of how this came to be. I mean, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. JFK was assassinated. None of those things led to a world war. Why did these things happen? You have to understand the full context. And it goes beyond just the initial incident of someone getting shot. There's a reason why people wanted to shoot him. There's a reason why people were so mad that he got shot, that they started a fucking huge war, that the likes of which the world had never seen to that point. So it's really annoying when someone tries to give me these ridiculous quotes, and I just I ask them why he said that, why he believes that, and they're like, oh, I don't know. It's like, oh God, why are we even talking about it? It's not relevant if you don't understand it. So one of the quotes that I was given was that he said that the Civil Rights Act was a mistake, which is not the actual thing that he said. He said we made a mistake when we passed it. That doesn't mean that the act itself was a mistake. It doesn't mean that that civil rights are a mistake. Like he's talking specifically about the act, about something we did while passing the act. And he also talks about Title IX, which was not part of the original act, Civil Rights Act. It was later on. There's just a lot of things about that. And then I heard that he said MLK was awful and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, but why does he think any of these things? Why did he think those things? We have to examine it. So I listened to his podcast. I don't like podcasts. I don't listen to them. I don't really like hearing just these political activist podcasts either, or like speeches. Because this doesn't really interest me. It's not something that I really. People like to be verbose when they don't need to be, or just go on about shit that I'm not. Sometimes I like to have fun. Sometimes I like to shoot people in a video game to let off some steam. Like I don't understand the problem with that. Like, I don't know. So I listened to this podcast, and I, to be honest, as somebody who I only ever had a cursory knowledge of the person. His podcasts were pretty fucking lame. You might think he's an American hero or whatever, and that's fine. I don't think I agree with that. But the thing about Charlie Kirk was that, you have to sit through like 5 minutes of ads of him just advertising things constantly. I understand you got to keep the lights on. I get that. But it's like, goddamn, shut the fuck up. Like, like, I don't care about the people who you buy gold from. I really don't care. Anyways, he goes on to talk more about Martin Luther King in the podcast, and he talks about how he came to the conclusion that Martin Luther King Jr. was awful. He keeps calling him Martin Luther King, but he means Jr. He's talking about Martin Luther King Jr. I don't know why it keeps saying just MLK. It's not just MLK. It's Jr. Anyways. So he brings this guy on who's like really religious too, and is talking about all the religious side of things that Martin Luther King said. And it's Bible thumping conspiracy shit down to its core. Now, what they're talking about, I understand. I understand why they feel the way they do about Martin Luther King. But the problem is, Junior, is that they're looking at the fruits of his labor and saying that he is responsible directly for the result in the modern day of what he did back then. And I disagree with that. They reference Jesus, and they reference, the parts of the Bible and all this stuff. And I don't care. I don't care what Jesus said. I don't care what the fucking disciples were about. I really don't. I don't have anything against people following the Bible or whatever, having their beliefs. I'm not stupid enough to think that the world could only possibly have been natural. There's just too many things that make it seem like it could have been, but there's not any clear evidence of anything either way. We're still learning stuff. We're so ignorant as a species still that we have to have more time to know for sure. But taking such specific passages from the Bible and using it as a way to determine the virtue of a person, like this book was written thousands of years ago, and you're using it as a compass to decide whether somebody today is moral or immoral based on stupid, irrelevant shit that they didn't really have anything to do with. Like Martin Luther King Jr. They say that he was involved in rapes and orgies and stuff, and I don't know about any of that. I've never heard this shit before. This is very new to me. But there are messages that Martin Luther King Jr. stated, which Charlie Kirk claimed that he didn't really believe these things. But whether he believed them or not, they were good statements that were real and true, such as wanting to sit together at the table of brotherhood, that it wasn't about revenge. It was about equality. They wanted to be on the same level as the white man. And they make this claim of like, oh, well, he says that we are still 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. The black man is still not free. And they're like, but God made us free. God gives us our freedom. That's what that means. And it's like, right. In the Bible, the US is a country. If your freedoms are being like restricted by the country that you live in, then that ain't got shit to do with the Bible. It really does not. That's an absurd take. Are you out of your fucking mind? He's not talking about God-given rights. He's talking about how their God-given rights aren't being given to black men, or weren't at that time. People are free now in the US largely. But it's like, how do you make such a ridiculous statement and with a straight face? Are you out of your goddamn? But it's faith. People get blinded by their own faith, and it's so nutty. So here's the thing about Martin Luther King Jr. is, again, the Table of Brotherhood and stuff like that. Like, that stuff is very true, very real, and it's a real vision. And they say, well, you got to look at the fruits of what that led to. It's like, what? Are you gonna sit here and try to tell me that the first and second waves of feminism were bad things because third wave feminism exists? That doesn't make any sense. Are you out of your fucking mind? Like, just because somebody co-ops a movement to use it for ill gains does not make the original movement pointless or wrong, or doesn't make the original person who started it a false prophet, which is what they're trying to claim. That's stupid. So I get that they're trying to say, oh, well, there were stupid things that happened because of this. They're just attributing the causality, the cause of it, to the wrong thing. And that's ridiculous. But it's also, but they're also speaking about how they do want better things for black people and minorities within the US. They want better things for all people within the US, based on their religious beliefs and all that stuff. And that's fine, whatever. But it's just like, people call Charlie Kirk racist, but he brought this like black preacher on basically to tell you why the black people are still disadvantaged in the modern era, and we need to fix it. And yet he's racist. And yet, but they'll just be like, well, he said Martin Luther King Jr. was awful. It's like, yeah, but why? This is why. I found out why. It's a stupid reason, sure, but he's not out here advocating for violence. He's trying to further the goals of equality, but proper equality, not equity, which is what DEI is equity. It's not equality. So there's that side of it. And I think that gives me a pretty good idea of that's pretty much where Charlie Kirk stands on a lot of things. A lot of Bible Belt, faith-based stuff that I really don't give a shit about. He had probably some strange conclusions that I don't fully agree with. I mean, that was one of them right there. But at the end of the day, this is really kind of the case for a lot of things, is that the truth is more somewhere in the middle. There's always going to be some radical right or radical left or whatever who says, oh, either this person's a Nazi or this person's a communist, and there's no in between. But it's usually always in between. It's not as crazy as people think. Do I think Charlie Kirk was a far right, radical lunatic? No, I just don't think he was reaching his conclusions based on things that made a lot of sense. But his goals were true. I think his goals were real, and they weren't bad goals overall. Could it have led to something bad? Yes. Could everything have led to something bad? It's so stupid because people will say oh, well, his actions led to him getting assassinated because he spread hate and misogyny and all this stuff, and now him getting shot was justified. And it's like, so you agree with him that Martin Luther King's actions led to the shitty things that are going on today, and therefore he's a bad person and we shouldn't respect him? Because you're proving this point, and I don't like that. Justifying the actions of one psychotic loser who's in his early 20s and doesn't fucking understand anything about the real world is beyond ridiculous. And this is where I'm going to start attacking the left, because I've been kind of shitting on the right here a little bit. And ultimately, the thing that makes me so passionate about this particular topic is that people are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. Now, here's the thing. If you celebrated the Queen of England dying, I have no problem with that. Genuinely, I don't care. I think she did a lot of horrible things in her life. Maybe she did some good things too. I don't really care. She's not really relevant to me, and I don't think the monarchy should exist. I think it's well past its usefulness. I don't think it was ever really useful, but maybe to some extent it probably was, but it's just generally, it's well past it. So if you celebrate the Queen's death, fine. If Donald Trump has a stroke tomorrow and dies and you celebrate that, I don't care. What I do care about is you're celebrating not just a death, you're celebrating the political assassination of somebody who was nonviolent. And that's the key, right? Because if you celebrate Hitler's death, sure, that's one thing, because he was violent. He killed people on a gigantic scale. And trying to compare Charlie Kirk to Hitler is such an absurd reach. Like, I'm 6'2" and I can't reach that far. Are you kidding me? You're really going to compare Charlie Kirk, who welcomed discussion and welcomed dissenting opinions, to one of the greatest mass murderers of all time. And I mean greatest in the sense of biggest scale, not the biggest, mind you, but huge. I mean, he's always the go-to. People just know Hitler. They don't think about Mao Zedong or Stalin. You know, there's tons of other examples. So the thing is that when you condone and advocate for the assassination of people you just disagree with, who didn't call for violence, which if there's a case where he called for violence, please fucking let me know, because I have not found a single source of that. If you advocate for that type of political violence, you are advocating for someone to assassinate you. Because any level of justification you give to something, you are advocating for that thing to be used against you. It's just like with free speech. If you are trying to tell people that they are not allowed to misgender someone, or they are not allowed to say the F slur or the in slur or all these different words, if you are trying to tell people that they can't say certain things, you are telling them that they are allowed to take away your ability to say certain things. And I'm gonna say this again. I said it on stream yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I like to ask people when we have a political discussion what they believe the most important human right is. And their answer can give me a lot of base information to work off of when discussing things with them. Because at the end of the day, it is my belief that the most important human right that has ever existed is the right to freedom of speech and expression. You have the right to express yourself and criticize the government and criticize people you disagree with, because that criticism is what helps us as a society share in ideals, become unified, and bury terrible things that don't need to be part of our world. If you want to sit here and talk out about guns till the fucking cows come home, you are more than welcome to do so. I'm going to disagree with you. I think guns are an important part of that, because the thing is that how do you protect your freedom of speech with a gun? How does the government do any of the things that you're begging for them to do with guns? That's how that all works. I hate to tell you, but that's how it works. And it's a really very simple concept. People are like, well, you can't fight the government. You can't just pick up an AR-15 and fight the government. Then why do you want to ban them? If they're not threatening, but they're also weapons of war, well, I don't those are incongruent concepts. They don't work together. You can't have the both positions at the same time and be rational. That's just how that works. So why do you think that the US has stood as a superpower in the world for so long? Why do you think that nobody, even though the rest of the entire world fucking hates us, why do you think that nobody's actually been able to successfully invade, or even really tried to invade us? We are the most armed populace on the planet by a huge margin. Like, we have so many people, and so many of them have guns, and you know, oh my God, it's wild. People will say that the first thing that a fascist government will do to take power is to ban books, or they'll say it's to tell you that, like, that you can't say certain things or whatever. But it's not. the first thing a fascist government needs to do to really start making powerful, radical changes is to disarm people. That's what every fascist government does. The Nazis did this. You know what they did? And they don't talk about this very much, but they said Jewish people can't have guns. Take away Jewish guns. That was something the Nazis did. And yeah, it was very specific. It wasn't just saying, oh, well, nobody can have guns. It was saying Jewish people can't have guns. Okay, now nobody can have any guns. Because what are they going to do about it? Nothing. Like, it's just causing more problems, right? So we'll just be like, no, nobody can have guns. And now we can start banning books because you can't do anything about it because you don't have a gun. You don't have any way to protect yourself against the things that we have to protect ourselves. So yeah, celebrating political violence is advocating for someone to commit the same level of political violence against you. And you should never be in favor of that. I don't want that for you. I don't want that for us, for our society. It is not a good thing. Political assassinations against nonviolent activists is that's what happened to Martin Luther King Jr. What? You want more of that? Are you out of your goddamn minds? And then, I see all kinds of even more misinformation, right? Like, oh, it's like, oh, the shooter was right wing. Oh, the shooter was left wing. Oh, the shooter was this. The shooter was that. The shooter was left wing. He was. People try to hide that, cover it up. And I keep hearing this quote that apparently the shooter said that Charlie Kirk didn't go far right enough. And I cannot for the life of me find a source of that. I have no idea where the shooter. It's hard to even find anything the shooter actually did say at any point. And again, the context would matter if the quote is real. Which again, I can't find a source of. But if the quote is real, the context of it matters. Why he said it matters. When he said it matters. Because if he said that after being captured, I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy that he believes that. Because that sounds like a false flag operation. Does it not sound like a false flag to anyone else? If I wanted people to hate the right, but I also wanted to hurt the right really bad, right? So you shoot a right-wing person like Charlie Kirk, and then when you get captured, because people think that they can get away with it. This guy is 22. He's a fucking idiot. He's not going to get away with shit. So when you get captured, what are you going to do? You're going to tell him, oh yeah, no, I'm a leftist. I'm a total Democrat. We're the party of violence. No, of course not. You're going to tell him, no, I'm totally right wing. I just don't think Charlie Kirk was extreme enough. Doesn't make any sense why you would kill him then. He's not hurting your cause. He's just not hardcore enough in your cause. Like that's not a motive to kill anybody. That makes no fucking sense. Why would anybody say that? So the fact that people keep repeating this shit to me is like, are you... Did somebody like get in your brain and put an RFK Jr. worm in there? Because that's what it sounds like. Speaking of which, I got to add him to the flashbang mod that I made. So this is a way longer video than I wanted to make. I really do just want to work on my art. Obviously, I'm getting involved in political stuff in the sense of taking very loud political stances on things. I'm not actually going into politics, but I am taking a stance on things. I am making videos about those things because it is part of my art. But I do just want to make fun art. That's genuinely what I want to do. And so this video has gotten way too long. So I'm gonna try and wrap it up here, and I'm gonna sum up kind of my thoughts on the whole situation in very short form. First of all, I don't think Charlie Kirk was a violent, radical right-wing person. I think that he had some very weird ideas, but he was so pro-discussion and so anti-violence that this is not justified in any way. People who, if you do think that he deserved it because because you think he was calling for violence, which again, I have no proof of, But if you do think he deserved it for calling for for violence, then how is MSNBC or CNN or Fox News or anyone allowed to continue to exist? They should be shut down, because all of them have called for violence at some point. I don't have any specific examples in my head of Fox News necessarily, but I'm pretty sure there's been some shit. I mean, they have Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly's a piece of shit. Like, it just is. Always has been. I don't know if he called for violence, but if somebody does call for violence, they should go to jail, because it is not protected by the First Amendment, nor should it be. So you shouldn't be celebrating a political assassination of a nonviolent activist. That is insane. You are a bad person for doing that. You are a bad person for condoning that. I don't think you deserve someone being violent against you, but that is what you are condoning. And that is my message to people. Do not commit violence against people you disagree with simply because you disagree with them. And don't even, I don't even condone people committing violence against people who are calling for violence, because those people need to be facing the actual justice system, not our vigilante justice. Now, if the justice system totally breaks down, which it does seem like it's starting to, there's definitely problems with it right now. Obviously, I'm raiding the DOJ every day for the very reason that the justice system is not working correctly. But I'm not enacting violence, and I'm not condoning it. That's not what I believe in at all. The thing is that they need to understand how important this is, and they need to fix that shit before there is a breakdown in the justice system and the governmental structures of the United States. The next thing is Charlie Kirk. Like, you don't have to like the guy. You don't have to hate the guy. But you should, you can, and you can have the, like, whatever opinions you want on him. But at the end of the day, don't just sit here and spout out of context quotes about the things he said or whatever. Just say, I disagree with him, and leave it at that. It doesn't really matter further than that. The only important part of this entire discussion is that a non-violent political activist was silenced by a violent political activist. That is a bad thing at its core. It doesn't matter who it happens to. It's not a good thing, and we should not continue that cycle. That is bad. Stop it. And the misinformation, people reading headlines and not articles, people assuming that everything they read about the side they disagree with is got to be right because it makes them look bad or whatever. Stop. If you don't listen to Charlie Kirk's podcasts, you probably don't know fuck all about him. I didn't until I started to. And I still disagree with the guy. Don't get me wrong. I still fucking disagree with him. I don't support a lot of the surface level rhetoric that he spouted. And even some of the foundational stuff. It was mainly like he did want good things for the world. I just don't think that his rationale for it made sense. So, like, with someone like Anita Sarkeesian, I watched her work, and I tried to understand where she was coming from and what she was trying to say in her own words, in full context, and figure out why she held those opinions. And once I did, I hated her. I thought she was a stupid piece of shit. And you can blame Anita Sarkeesian directly for me being involved in politics in the first fucking place, because I was minding my own fucking business. I was not interested in politics. I was not interested in right versus left or north versus south. I don't care. I didn't. Now I do. Because Anita Sarkeesian tried to come out of the woodwork and tell me personally, essentially, that I am a bad person because I like video games. That video games are run by some evil cult underground somewhere that all convene, I don't know, annually, monthly. I have no idea. Apparently, it's just some evil cult of people who gather together once in a while to tell everyone who works in the games industry how they're supposed to make video games so that they can objectify women. It's the most absurd shit. She's a piece of garbage, and you can blame her for me being in politics in the first place, Because again, it's people who don't understand something who are coming at you to tell you that you're a bad person for supporting something that they themselves don't even understand. Stop it. It's not healthy. It's not making anything better. It never has. You will never make any progress, any positive change in the world if you can't even stop for 1 second to understand why someone you disagree with has reached the conclusions that they have. And as such, you've likely reached your own conclusions without any rationale. And it's like Asmongold says, you can't reason someone out of a position they didn't reason themselves into. They don't have a line of logic you can follow to understand why they stand a certain way. So you can't tell them logically why it doesn't make sense for them to be there, or why they could be wrong, or why they should question it. Like, how is this the discussion we're still having 9 years on at this point? People still don't get this? It's like, you can't tell me that you haven't seen the results of these actions. The internet exists now, and it's huge. It's mainstream. It's everywhere. This stuff is fucking everywhere. No matter how much Google tries to bury search results, no matter how much YouTube tries to censor things they don't want you to see. Granted, they are trying to make money, so they're just going to push whatever is relevant to you, but they're not. But they're still censoring things. No matter what Spoofing Brit says, they do still censor things that they think are wrong or bad or whatever from some made up rubric that they came up with in their own fucking spare time or whatever. So at the end of the day, I have people I have friends in my life who are on the right wing. I have friends who are on the left. I have people who are a little bit more north. I have people who are a little bit more south. And the reason I'm friends with them is because they don't tell me I'm a piece of shit for the way that I see things. I'm friends with them because they don't force their beliefs on me. I'm friends with them because they take the time to try and understand why I hold the positions that I do, why I have the stances that I have. They listen. They're human. And most people are. It might seem like the world is going to shit. It might seem like everybody's lost their fucking minds and can't fucking understand even the most basic, or what seems like the most basic courtesies and societal, like social principles. But it's not. It's not the majority. This is insane people who have no real world experience, who are just really loud on Twitter or Blue Sky. And to be fair, it's not really their fault, is it? We have allowed media companies like CNN and MSNBC and Fox to exist for this long, and we are reaping the results of that. These are garbage propaganda organizations who do not care about you. They do not care about the truth. They don't actually want to make positive change in the world. They are lunatics who are so rich that they have no idea what humanity even is anymore. They are so out of touch with reality that they have nothing of value to offer us as genuinely, the only value that they could possibly offer to the human race at this point is telling us the weather, telling us things that are factually confirmed by the visuals on screen, like the results of a sports game. That's it. That's when it comes to politics, when it comes to how you should see the world or what you should think about things that are going on in the world, or even a lot of the things that actually are going on in the world, news organizations like that, just they are not valuable. On a large scale, they are not valuable. What I would say is that a lot of news sources coming together that you pull from all of them at once, from all sides of the compass, that could be valuable. You can gather some valuable data from that, but you probably still won't really know what's going on in the world. It depends. You might, But in most cases, I just wouldn't bet on it. That's the thing. If you want to know about a sports game, yeah, I'm sure CNN could probably cover you. You'd probably be better off going to ESPN. But still, if you want to know the weather, sure, go to the Weather Network or whatever. But it's like news publications talking about politics. They don't know shit. They're not there to teach you anything because they don't know anything. They might think that that's their goal, but they're retarded. Stop listening to them. Like, Jesus Christ. Start listening to humans. Anyways, I am tired. And I have a lot of work to do. And I want to stop talking about this. Charlie Kirk being assassinated was a bad thing. I don't care what beliefs he held. Alex Jones being assassinated would be a bad thing. He's not calling for violence. Not that I know of. Donald Trump being assassinated would be a bad thing. Anita Sarkeesian, as much as I fucking hate her, being assassinated would be a bad thing. Alyssa Mercanti being assassinated would be a bad thing. She is calling for violence, or she has in the past, but she should face the justice system. Not the justice of a 308. I'm sorry. I may be pro-gun, but that's not why. That isn't it. These aren't legislators. These aren't people that are actually out here breaking the law, doing horrible anti-human rights actions that are actually affecting people's lives directly. If you don't like Charlie Kirk, fine, don't listen to him. You don't like Donald Trump, fine. Try to not listen to him. I mean, it's hard to escape because it's fucking everywhere. People don't stop talking about that shit. If you don't like Alyssa Mercanti, stop reading her articles. I mean, granted, it makes for good content. Sometimes you just want to talk about these things, and that's fine too. But don't sit here and say that they deserve to be shot. It's ridiculous. You're a piece of shit. Stop it. I can't stress it enough. Stop. No more violence. There's a time for it, and this is not it. It wasn't even it when George Floyd died. It wasn't. That was not an appropriate response to a drug addict, abusive piece of shit that died. There were ways to go about dealing with that didn't involve blowing shit up, setting things on fire. You know, it did not need to go that far, and it doesn't need to go that far now. But look at it. We're not rioting. We're not looting. We're not setting things on fire. There are protests, and they are peaceful. It's actually mostly vigils, but there's some protests, I'm sure. Okay. Anyways, thank you for watching, I guess. Tune in for the stream later. We stream every day to get these Epstein files released because that is an important topic as well. It's something I care about. And I hope others care about it as well. I'm so sick of this. Please relax. Jesus Christ. Anyways, bye everybody.